Why did I pick Pinetree Hill over Grand Dunman? Hello everyone, this is our first episode on new launch picks. In today's video, I'll be touching on why I chose Pinetree Hill, which has no MRT, as an investment for ourselves over a more convenient location like Grand Dunman. What? I might be wrong, but hear me out and let's see if it makes sense or not. At the start of the year, I have already earmarked these two developments as probably the two launches of the year for me. Both plots were purchased at similar cost, and you know what? There are literally 42 weeks that one can time their launch. But both powerhouses decided to launch on the very same day, the 15th of July 2023. So fast forward, Grand Dunman sold about 50% on actual day, and Pinetree Hill hits around approximately 28% sales figure. I'm sure many of you guys watching here might think, hey Clinton, if you say it's so good, why is the sales figure only half of Grand Dunman? Does it really mean anything? Yes and no. Yes, it gives people an impression that the higher percentage of units sold is an affirmation that they made the right choice. No, because I can show you very good stats that even a development that sells well on its first day, it does not mean you make more money eventually. Or, if a development that doesn't sell well on day one, means that you will not make money. Buyers might be focusing on the wrong things. Remember, buying is always easy and it's always the first step. Selling is literally crossing the line at the end. If you think hard about it, if a development sells too fast, how are the developers going to slowly stage the price up for you? Because if you put on your developers' thinking cap, they are a business entity after all, right? It is to their benefit that they are able to make as much as they can from a business decision. So if it sells too fast, it is then on the first movers to test new benchmark prices. And let's put it, every seller might have different motivations to sell. So I will be using the QPE method to evaluate the both of them to see. And for those who don't understand what I mean by the QPE method that I covered on our first video, a framework that I use to evaluate properties, you can click on the link on my description to that video below. So I'll start with Grand Dunman first. Some introduction about Grand Dunman. A leasehold property located on Dunman Road, developed by Singhai, the developers that brought you Park Clementes and Gazania, to name a few. 7 blocks, 1008 units sitting on 270,000 square feet of land space. Okay, 60% of the development comes with an unblocked view of the landed enclave, 2 minutes walk to Dakota MRT, and of course, for sure, the location is clearly better than Pinetree Hill. Super convenient, and that is one point that got me thinking for a solid 2 weeks. However, I have to bring up that competition is a bit heavier here with Tembusu Grand and Continuum and the upcoming Jalan Tembusu site. So let's look at the first circle, price. Now, developers gave some indication that they will sell at around 2,400 per square foot during preview, but actually it was close to 2,500 on an average. Tembusu Grand, for information, sold at an average of 2,400 per square foot. Continuum Freehold did theirs at around 2,750 per square foot. So all the new launches here are quite in line with one another. Now let's look at the resale prices. With all honesty, we got to compare apple to apple, and the only apple here and closest resale property is Dakota and Waterbank. A 10-year-old Waterbank transacts averagely between 1,900 to 2,000 per square foot, and a 13-year-old Dakota residences selling an average of 1,700 per square foot. Remember that I said that the respectable difference between a new launch and resale is about 20-40% difference depending on age. Now, the gap between the two resale and Grand Dunman in this case, it's about that range, which means what? Which means that Grand Dunman premium is in line with resale property prices in that neighborhood. Not super cheap, not super expensive either. But it tells you another story too. If you can get your hands on the Dakota residence at about 1,600 per square foot, 2.1, 2.2, for whatever reasons, hit it, because the difference is a whooping 56%. In summary, Grand Dunman price was fair but skewed towards the higher end, right? So jumping to the next circle, quality. Point number 1, land size, facilities and facade. Full facilities, 80-meter lap pool, gym, tennis court, blah blah blah, pretty straightforward. But the idea of this big pool serving the entire 1,000 units does put me off slightly. I mean, designs are very unique, but not for me personally, per se. Point number 2, layouts. And actually layouts here are quite straightforward. For argument's sake, I could only buy up to a 3-bedroom compact with my budget, so I will leave the other layouts for another video. Just a quick look at the common 2 and 3 bedroom units. I didn't even bother to consider 1 bedroom, as you know I hate dealing with investors, right? So 2 bedroom dumbbell layout with an open concept kitchen. This is the 2 bed, 1 bath. Of course, you could have done better with an enclosed kitchen, but actually in time, that's just nitpicking. Surprisingly, there is no 2 bed, 2 bath in this instance. The next jump is a 2 bed, 2 bath plus study. Dumbbell layout again without any enclosed kitchen. The rooms are quite sizable though for all the layouts. 3 bedroom compact, not a very common layout designed by today's standard. Small passageway in, long passageway leading to bedroom 3. Rooms can all fit in a queen size bed comfortably. To me, either you love it or hate it, but it felt a little bit messy for my liking. What do you guys think? Comment below. Is it nice, or is this a suitable layout for you or not? For me, it was a bit so-so. Now, point number 3. Location, MRT and amenities. Now, needless to say, this is where the strength of Grand Dunman lies. What an amazing location. 2 minutes walk to MRT, 5 minutes walk to Old Airport Road. Now, short drive towards Nico Highway, Paya Lebar, Tanjong Katong, and of course where you get more eateries and more. And if you travel southwards towards East Coast Park, and of course there's the highway that links towards City and Changi. This one I no complaints, hands down a clear winner.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Now, point number 4, views. Grand Dunman has the best view among all the new launches competitions in that neighbourhood. In fact, he has one of the better views in the entire East Coast other than the sea-facing units. So my key consideration here, understanding that views might matter if the price is right, I was actually considering a good facing towards the landed enclave. And lastly, to the final circle, exit strategy. Number 1, supply demand. To be fair, there's really only Waterbank and Dakota Residences as the closest competition. The much better location somewhat puts it above all the other recent new launches. So this area, classic, low supply, high demand, very straightforward. Point number 2, transformation. I mean, come on, it's District 15. Some of you might think it is more District 14 than 15, but there really isn't a need of any major transformation to drive prices upwards. Point number 3, schools. Kong Hwa Primary and Tanjong Katong, to name a few. Now, this is just extra cookie points. East Coast, for those who are familiar, is not famous for being in a school zone. It's more famous for its lifestyle, location, convenience, and being a bit more family orientated. So if you get the presence of a reputable school, that is just extra bonus points. So schools here, very, very good. Point number 4, target audiences. HDB upgraders, Easties, and if you know the Easties as well as I do, they don't tend to move out of the East Coast that often because of its location and lifestyle. So there really isn't any shortage of suitors. Now that's my short evaluation of Grand Dunman. I will give you my thoughts on the overall at the end of the conclusion when I evaluate the 2. Now next one, Pinetree Hill. Some introduction about Pinetree Hill. If you look at the site plan, District 21 falls slightly off from District 10, also a leasehold property located at Ulu Pandan off Pine Grove, jointly developed by UOL and Singapore Land. UOL is a big player, and the noticeable recent hot sellers are the Avenue South Residences and Cleveland, to name a few. 3 blocks of 520 units sitting on 240,000 square feet of land space, slightly smaller than Grand Dunman. It is one of the larger developments apart from the super old properties in that neighbourhood. And a quick look at it, you will realise that about 80% of the land has been set aside for landscaping. And what I like about it is the willingness on the developer to elevate the first level up to 4 stories high, giving you this very atas vibe to the development. Okay, so using the QPE method, now let's talk about price. Price was averaging around 2350 per square foot. I, for one, managed to hit mine at 2250 per square foot for a low floor 3 bedroom unit. Pinetree is the newest property after the absence of new launches since Trizon back in 2009, which coincidentally should be the closest competition that Pinetree has. Quick look at Trizon will show that the freehold development is averagely transacting around 2,100 per square foot, which is cheaper than Pinetree Hill. But their 2 bedroom, which is about a sizable 1044 square feet in today's market, is selling at around $2.18 million. 1195 square feet 2 plus study, selling at 2.5, and their larger 3 bedrooms, it's around $4 million. Right? So what does it tell you about this? That there's always 2 sides to a coin. You can't just focus on per square foot and neglect the entry level, which could tell a totally different story. Now, Pinetree Hill was selling their 2 plus study starting from $1.78 million, and their 3 bedroom 969 was around 2.178 million. Yes, the sizes are smaller, but still it doesn't take away the fact that for the same price and same size at Trizon 2-bedroom, I'm getting a brand new 3-bedroom here. Fundamentally, will the rents be higher for a 3-bedroom brand new apartment or an older 2-bedroom at Trizon? I literally got one of the lowest entry level to the neighborhood, and not only that, I am one of the newest in the area. So why did I not compare the rest? Because there are much older developments like Pandan Valley, Richwood, Osworth Park, to name a few. They are essentially different products somewhat. The demographics are different. Their proper 3-bedrooms are much larger and were already going easily between $3 to $4 million. So price for me was very safe. And now to the next circle, quality. Point number 1, land size, facilities and facade. Now I consider this as A standards in terms of designing and building a proper condo. You have whatever you need, and notice the setback between all blocks are done in such a way that every single unit probably won't feel any sense of claustrophobic, even if it's on the lower floors, given the high ceiling on the first level, full facilities, tennis court, basketball courts, and to be honest, they really have a good mix of greens. Point number 2, layout. Now, the 2-bed, 2-bath dumbbell layout with an enclosed kitchen, very straightforward and very clean. 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom dumbbell layout with an enclosed kitchen and a study. Can't really fault much of this layout now. I know some comments out there that are saying that the sizes here are too big, hence the quantum might pose a challenge for buyers. Well, they are not wrong, but this is where the understanding of sentiments in the neighborhood comes into play. Because in an area like this, or even District 9 and 10, or even Faithton, end users usually prefer a much larger unit type than what is generally selling in the more mass market segments, right? You bring these smaller units to the areas mentioned, you realize that the resale value in the future might work against you. 3-bedroom compact, 969 square feet, very clean layout. Not much wasted space. I love it that there are windows at the kitchen and all the toilets. Even a small window at the side of the wall does give you extra light and ventilation. I actually expect the entire unit to be fairly bright. Overall layout, it's much better in my opinion.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Point number 3, location, MRT and amenities. District 21, Pine Grove, Holland area, it is quite an upmarket and quiet neighborhood. It's of course not as accessible as Grand Dunman or any other new launches this year per se. And our closest supermarket is all the way to Jalan Jelita, and nearest MRT is Dover, which to me, of course in today's market and requirements, is not walking distance given how pampered we are. But there's a big but here. Understanding the expectations and emotions of the future end users looking at this neighborhood, you will realize that the lack of MRT was never an issue with them. Buyers who have been buying to this area does not typically buy for its convenience. Instead, it's mainly for the neighborhood and its location. So location is a means for some who favors convenience, and of course a hit for those who digs the neighborhood. Point number 4, views. Unblocked views of the Clementi Forest, nice pool view, good setback of about 40 to 80 meters between blocks. Even the supposedly bad facing, it's not too bad. Approximately 50-meter clearance from Esther Green with a bit of green. And if the price premium wasn't that great, I would actually go for the better facing. But if the margins are wide, then I'm just going to settle for a lesser view. Now to our last circle, exit strategy. Number 1, supply demand. There is a fair bit of properties in that area, but majority of them are 20-30 years old. And because this is the newest in the neighborhood for almost 14 years and should look the most attractive once it TOPs, I expect demand to be fairly strong. I for one have come to that conclusion that it will stand out in the future because I personally visited almost every single property in that area before coming up with an opinion. So low supply in that neighborhood and even lower supply for brand new properties. Point number 2, transformation. There is no notable transformation up ahead, and again, you guys know I'm not a fan of buying on the idea of future transformation. It simply takes too long for this to take shape. Point number 3, schools. One came within Henry Park and Pei Tong. This is likely a hedge against the future Pine Grove Parcel B site, as we heard rumours that only a small part of the future plot will be 1 km within Henry Park. For all those kiasu parents like me, Henry Park is one of the top schools that the stats for the Phase 2B and 2C is more favourable than most. So, that will kind of attract more families into the neighbourhood. So this school portion, same plus point as Grand Dunman. Point number 4, target audience. Now, if you notice the area, it's surrounded by quite a fair bit of expensive HDB enclaves, Clementi, Holland, Queenstown. So I do expect to see a fair bit of HDB upgraders drawn to schools and the allure of Pinetree Hill as a very quiet and serene neighbourhood. We should also see future buyers coming from within the Pine Grove and Holland area who probably wants a breath of fresh air from the older properties, and probably parents residing in the landed enclaves wanting to buy one for the kids to live nearby. I for one do not expect to sell to someone who relies heavily on public transport and amenities to be looking in this neighbourhood. With that, and looking at the two developments of Pinetree Hill and Grand Dunman as a whole, I felt safer buying to Pinetree Hill given the price points and design are what stood out for me evidently. And the way it's being built shows you that a lot of thoughts were invested to make it what it is. 2,250 per square foot at under 2.2 for a sizable 3-bedroom layout with a decent facing when my closest competition is selling its 2 bedrooms at a much higher price? I mean, doesn't make sense, right? And then I also like that there was a premium to the pool facing where similar level facing was selling at close to 140k higher. I mean, Grand Dunman location was hard to ignore, but the price for a landed facing unit that I was considering eventually came out to around 2,600 plus per square foot onwards. And the design of the development was a bit of a hit and miss for me. Layout was a bit of question mark too, but when I compare the two from how they both look, then the decision was pretty clear for me. As usual, there were a lot of noises along the way telling me that being at District 15 and beside MRT would be a much safer approach. But I've simply seen too many properties to understand that Pinetree Hill will really show its true potential when it TOPs in the future. There are small little attention to details that one doesn't usually pay attention until it completes building. And you know what? I secretly hope the developers slowly sell their units. Why? So that there's plenty of room for them to price their units upwards in the years to come leading up to key collection, where I just hit a unit close to their base price. Because developers are obviously pricing it lower now due to more inventories, competition, and so on and so forth. You can imagine them taking it back from future buyers, and guess that's going to benefit who? And that is the story of how I concluded my purchase recently for an investment property. Did I ever ask myself if it is the right time to buy? The answer is no. I always choose to focus on something that is within my control, and that is what I buy. Right? So please feel free to drop any comments if any of the points I brought up doesn't make sense. Were you guys also considering between the two? I would really like to hear it from you. Tell me what you think. And as always, if you have any development or properties you want me to cover using the QPE method, comment below and I will see what I can do. Oh, and remember to hit the like button and subscribe so it helps with the algorithm. And until the next video, which I'll be talking about more resale properties that you can buy in today's market, this is Pocket View, signing out.